goal of the protective order is to stop Trump from sharing evidence. But what about these social media posts that they may not share evidence, but they are still threatening? So what can the judge actually do? I mean, especially the Mike Pence one, which reads like a clear threat. What can the judge do to stop that?
So, Jen, it's worth noting that on Thursday at the arraignment, Donald Trump, under oath, swore that he would not retaliate against or threaten any potential witness. And then the next day, that post and others with respect to Mike Pence were issued. So what can the judge do? Well, the judge can start by bringing the parties in and giving, a sort of stern lecture. This is, an admonition that you have one more chance. The other thing that the judge can do, because remember, Donald Trump is out on bail. So he is not free to say anything that anyone else would, is there can be restrictions on what he did and what he can do. This did happen with Roger Stone in this very same courthouse when he posted a photo of the district judge with crosshairs over her shoulder. And that led to severe restrictions on what he could post. Just to be clear, any other defendant who did this, who was facing 6 counts of obstruction of justice, 4 in D.C., 2 in Florida, I think would be remanded, meaning would be sent to jail and would have to await trial in jail.
So, Neil, one of the things we've been watching this week, or has been interesting even for us non-lawyers, is that the judge, the Trump team asked for a delay to respond to this protective order request, and the judge shot it down very quickly. It all seems very rapid. What have you made of that, and what does that tell us about what we should look ahead to in the weeks ahead?
So first, Jen, I just wanted to thank you for the way you started this show, talking about how this trial was something that people are going to read about in 100 years. And the reason for that is not because this trial is really because this trial goes to the essence of what our legal system is about. Trump's lawyer is on TV today saying this is just a technical violation of the Constitution and stuff like that. Au contraire, this is as serious as it gets. This is about a president, who tried to launch a coup and stop the counting of an election. So I think this is what, leading to Judge Chutkan and the timing of this case and what she's been doing over the weekend, I think she's signaling, and this is her reputation, she's a no-nonsense judge. She's not going to accept Trump's decisions to try and delay the trial, which is this kind of standard tactic in case after case. This thing looks like it is heading toward a fast and speedy trial, as it should be, given the gravity of the charges. And when Trump goes and uses social media to do what he's been doing after being warned by the judge, I think that's all the more reason why this trial has to occur quickly.